I've got my own sort of Marie Kondo method when it comes to how I organize my art supplies. And part of the reason that I love collecting watercolors is the process of it all and the meditative quality of sitting down, reorganizing, and swatching my colors is so restorative. And so today I want to share with you my crazy techniques for storing my watercolors. I also feel that the way that we swatch our new palettes is really important. And I'm going to show you how I swatch new colors, and I think it's going to blow your mind. So a few months ago, I landed on AliExpress and I discovered this brand called Supervision. Now, they have a huge range of colors. They have a whole granulating set. There's just a lot of colors. They're definitely convenience colors, and no, friends, they probably aren't terribly light fast, but I was really inspired by these like super pastel macaron looking inspired pigment colors. I ran into a seller that was creating these quarter pan palettes that gave you the full range of pastel Supervision watercolors, and so I ordered it. And the palette came like this. Now, this is a super cool little container, but definitely not something I want to look at every day. So I knew it was time to tear it up, and I had to start by getting all of these quarter pans out of here and figuring out the dimensions of that footprint and where it would fit in terms of a new tin. And I found this one. Oh my gosh, this is a new one, the Fantasy Paint Box. I can't handle this pattern on the front, super inspiring. And lo and behold, I realized that it would fit the footprint of this AliExpress Supervision palette almost perfectly. The Supervision watercolors, I've learned that once they're in a half pan, they shrink a lot. So these little color chips started falling out of the half pans like it was their job. So I dumped them. I went ahead and just dumped them all out and reorganized them by color family. And friends, this process alone was incredibly cathartic. Just sitting down, taking 10 minutes and organizing by color family. And I also had to swatch a few because I couldn't tell by the dried color what they actually were. And I had a few surprises, that's for sure. I'm often asked if I do anything to these metal tin palettes before I use them. And I don't spray them with anything. If they're super dirty, I'll clean them off, but they don't typically rust under normal use. And you all know I spray my palettes like it's my job. I do make sure they're clean and dry, because then I'm adding typically either a magnet adhesive or just a regular adhesive, like in this case. These little quarter pans already had little glue dots on them, but a lot of them popped off in the process of kind of ripping the old palette apart. So I added some ATG. Friends, if you don't have a 3M ATG gun, you need to get one. I think I need to do a video about this gun because it's a life changer. Not a game changer, it's a life changer. More on that someday. Basically, friends, though, just know that you can use super strong glue dots if you don't have magnets on hand, and they're gonna hold these little quarter pans and often even a half pan in place on a metal tin. Now, back to these Supervision watercolors, friends. If you're interested in the set that I got specifically, I'm sorry to say that you're probably not going to find the exact set. I looked for about a half an hour, and I don't know if that seller is currently active. But this spot right here is a great place to start. There are a few sellers offering a very similar type of palette where you can kind of get all the colors all in one. So have fun with that. Oh my gosh, are you as excited as I am about these colors? I can't wait to swatch them. And if you feel the same, hit that boop, that's the like button, and let me know in comments if you're a fan of pastel watercolors or not so much, and why. I definitely want to get that conversation started. And don't worry, I'm going to have all the details in the information section about where you can get tins, where you can get these pigments, and all the good stuff. Okay, you've been waiting for it. Now we have the palette revisited. It's transformed into this thing of beauty. But what do we do with it? When you get new supplies, there's all this tension and excitement, and then sometimes you can feel really overwhelmed by it all. So yes, you can swatch your colors. And then if you've been playing around with watercolors for any amount of time, you know what I'm talking about, swatching. It's those little squares of color, and you make a beautiful, perfect little grid, stay inside the lines, follow the rules, and see what your colors look like. Not on my planet. Okay, friends, seriously, I swatch colors in a very experiential way. And I do believe, I'm going to be strong here in saying, I believe that the way I swatch colors has a lot more to teach you than just those little squares. Now, that's not to say that the squares aren't cool. And if you dig the squares and that fits your personality, friends, then keep doing you. It's all good. But for me, I want to see how those colors move and groove, how they work on their own, of course, so I can get a sense of their individual personality, but also, and eventually more importantly, how they mingle next to one another. So the way that I swatch colors reflects that kind of information gathering that I crave. Okay, so here is how my swatching technique is different. Number one, I use basic shapes, so kind of like the little squares, but leaves, circles, herringbone patterns, X's, you get the picture. And I do repetitive shapes. So again, similar to your basic swatching squares, but with a twist. The biggest difference is that my swatching shapes, whether it's a leaf or a circle or a little swoosh, they touch ever so slightly. And that gives me an opportunity to see how the colors play next to one another. Because honestly, if you're just swatching separate little squares that never touch, you never know if those colors like one another, and you never really know all the magic that happens when those colors intermingle. So my swatching technique hovers somewhere between the static squares and a real painting. It's the gorgeous, lovely, delicious in between. So there's not a lot of pressure to make something look like something, to do a real painting. But at the same time, it's a lot more information that you're gathering than just doing the squares. I would encourage you, even if you're steadfast and dedicated to your squares, give this approach a try at least once and see how you feel about it. And I decided to be a little extra, and this is something I do sometimes at the end of my swatching game. When things are dry, I'll take a pen or a pencil or even a liner brush loaded with my favorite color from the palette, and I'll sketch over top of the swatches. So exciting. Love doing this. And admittedly, I don't do it every time, but I felt like with this particular swatching experience, it really made sense. And so what am I left with after opening up a new palette and swatching it in the Christie style, the Christie method? What am I left with? A certain sense of comfort. I'm definitely feeling more confidently armed to take on a quote, real painting with this palette in the very near future. I'm left feeling like my swatching experience isn't separate from a painting experience. They inform one another because I've already dipped my toes in the water of a real painting with this particular palette. Okay, this is the point where if you've had a moment that you're really excited about, something I've said has inspired you, first, give this video a boop. That's the like button. And then next, head to comments and tell me what you're thinking right now. How do you feel about this swatching craziness that I'm sharing with you? And do you do things differently? Because honestly, friends, what happens in the comments is so exciting, and it's where you really get to know the community that we're building here. And you guys are awesome, so I really want you to get to know each other. And you know what? While you're in the comments section, if you're thinking about prettying up one of your palettes, tell me which one and what you're planning to do with it. I can't wait to hear your ideas. Now, if you've got the swatching bug and you feel like you need more, I want you to check out this video next and see how I've swatched some of my favorite Amazon palettes.